Hi, in this video I want to demonstrate how I use GitHub Copilot to deploy Azure resources with Azure CLI. First of all, here I have my Visual Studio Code and I have the GitHub Copilot extension installed. It's pretty cool how there's like 12.7 million installations of this already, and note that this is you have to have a paid subscription or go through a free trial. You have to have a GitHub account. In my account I have the GitHub Copilot subscription, so you have to have that. Okay, here's the resource group I will deploy into. So I have like some prompts set up here, right? So here, kind of a design prompt, like where the goal of this demonstration is to try to get a Azure App Service and Azure SQL database connected to a virtual network and to have private network traffic. You could ask some design questions here, and let's just see what it comes up with. And then, so in the extension, there's this chat pane, and I can give it some questions here. So connect to Azure database through private network traffic using VNet service endpoints or private link, or in other words, private endpoints. But I'm interested in more of this option 2. Okay, so that's just a sneak peek. I wish it gave more elaborate answer about private network and mentioning more about the private endpoints here. But yeah, maybe it's the weakness of my prompt, but just to demonstrate that. So here's a prompt to get like implementation code that I've prepared, right? So basically I'm saying that using Azure CLI, create the following resources: a resource group, a virtual network with 3 subnets, and name them from web integration, and data. Web is used for the web app private endpoint, where web integration used for the web app virtual network integration, right? For outbound traffic from the web app into the virtual network. Okay, data for the private endpoint for the SQL Server database. I want a app service plan with private endpoint and virtual network integration to the virtual network. SQL Server with a SQL database. Make sure that to generate an admin password that meets the password policy. Create variables. Okay. Ensure that they are unique for web app, Azure SQL Server, Azure SQL database, because they have to be globally unique across among Azure tenants. Okay, not just within your own tenant or subscription. Okay, the Az CLI commands will be executed in Windows PowerShell and suggest the appropriate values. So it's a pretty comprehensive prompt. Control I and then paste that prompt in here, and then let's see how far it takes us, and then still use GitHub Copilot to fix issues or make further suggestions. So run that. Okay, cool. Variables, create the virtual network, subnets. Okay, SQL Server outputs that. Okay, I don't think this is exactly what I'm looking for. There's some missing things like the private endpoints, and I know from earlier tests of this that it's not complete. But yeah, let's accept that and kind of run through that. So okay, so the web app and SQL Server name, they're not unique. I know from previous testing that exists. What I would be expecting is to have some concatenation. So let's ask this. Okay, concatenate the variable value with today. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, great. And hopefully, let's see that works. but obviously this one needs to go before. Okay, I see here location, that should be a variable, so replace with location variable. Oops. With a suggested value. Oops. Okay. All right, that looks better. Let me run this. Okay. And I just want to make sure that this value. Okay, yep. Okay, so create subnets in the App Service. Okay, let's run this section right here. Okay. So it's pretty cool. So created that. Okay, let's just look into the Azure Portal. Refresh. See. Okay. So let's look at the subnets. Okay, it has my 3 subnets. It's great. Okay, my app service plan as well. Okay, great. So next is, well, let's create the web app with private endpoint. Let's see what goes here. The syntax is incorrect. Okay. Ah, I see. So there's certain placeholders here. And so I know that this is okay, so private endpoint. What is it? Okay, yeah, this is pretty much incorrect. Okay, just from previous knowledge, I think the web app can be created just like this. Okay, whoops. And okay, well, let's try that. Let's see what happens here. Unrecognized VNet. Okay, yeah, don't think it's, oh, I have that 2 times. Okay, so I think it's best to create this standalone. Okay, usage error. Okay, so okay, let's copy this error. Okay, and then you can do a /fix and then paste the error, and let's see what comes out of this. So it indicates that I need runtime deployment container image. Okay. Okay, what I can do here now is deployment container image sample hello world app. Okay, so let's run that. And while that's running, okay, the cool thing here is I can put comments here. Create private endpoint for the web app. Okay, it's almost like reading my mind. And link to the web subnet. Okay, so tab, Okay, so web app name, resource group, virtual network, the subnet, web subnet, private connection. Okay, that's good. Group ID I know is wrong. It's supposed to be sites. So let's run that. Okay, and while that's running, oh, okay, let's see here. Connection name. Okay, needs a connection name with web app name. Okay. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a comment for create virtual network integration and link to the web. Wow. Okay, that's really totally read my mind. Okay. Integration, resource group, virtual network. Subnet is web integration subnet. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, so okay, awesome. So run this one. Okay, great. Okay, so let's the portal. Okay, refresh. So we have that private endpoint right there, the web app and network interface. So if we go to the web app and we can look at the networking. So cool, it has that private endpoint for ingress traffic and that virtual network for outbound traffic to that web integration subnet. We're all good there. Okay, now let's go back and focus on SQL Server. With SQL Server, okay, here I need a proper password. Let's see here, did it create? Okay, I didn't replace it. It just suggested it. Okay, replace with a strong password. Okay. Okay, there we go. And then create a database under the SQL Server. Okay. Give it a lot of configuration details there. Okay, let's run that. Let's see what happens. Okay, so while that's being created, let's create the private endpoint for the Azure SQL and link it to the data subnet. Okay, that was pretty cool too. So AZ network private endpoint, create the SQL Server, resource group, group ID. Okay, yeah, that looks good to me. So the SQL Server has been created. So let's create the database under that SQL Server. Okay, the database has been created, and let's try to create that private endpoint for the SQL and link it to the data subnet. Okay, great. So let's go to the Azure Portal. Okay, do a refresh. So we see here is the SQL Server. Oh, SQL Server right here. That's the database, a private endpoint. Look into here. Go into the networking. Go private access. We can see that the private endpoint has been created, and it is to the data subnet. Okay, great. So in review, we have the web app. So that has the private endpoint, ingress, and for outgoing traffic, there's virtual network integration to the web integration subnet. Look through here and right here as well, and so that we can have the web app connected to the database through the Azure virtual network, through private network traffic. So back to using the GitHub Copilot, I have to say that to come up with this demonstration, there was several cycles of testing and fixing issues and everything, and really it's obviously not perfect, okay? And can a junior developer or junior engineer kind of pull it off? I suppose so, but there is still some like senior knowledge is still needed, right, to be productive and to be quick, right, to identify the errors, the gaps, the wrong suggestions, right, with some arguments and parameters, right. I still say that there's a lot of improvement, but at the same time, it is helpful, it is productive, especially in the hands of a more senior engineer. And me personally, I would love to continue to have it as part of my tools in my tool chest. For sure, it's something that's here to stay, and check it out, play with it, and thanks for watching.